The young roster, the rooks, the second years have got to get an opportunity, and I'm already trying to sell with Howie Roseman during the trade deadline right now. And I think more moves have to be made to get some other players on the field, and obviously rumors on who the Eagles could target, trade deadline, signings. Some I want to clear up that make no sense, and some that could be an interesting opportunity for this offense or the defense. We'll go over it. Let's get straight into it.
A killer buried, but not dead.
Darren, we better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Hope everybody is enjoying themselves. Week 5 is ahead of us right now, and a lot going on with the Philadelphia Eagles into their bye week. So obviously not a lot of changes have happened so far. We haven't really got a bunch of news, but rumors apparently start to swirl, whether you believe them or not. We're going to talk about this young roster behind what we have on this defense, and I think more guys really need opportunities. And I think that Howie should start selling just a little bit, because I feel like we need more intensity. We need a lot more out of these players, mentality-wise, competitiveness, you name it. But before we go into all of that, this video is sponsored by BetUS, and this is a word from our sponsor at BetUS. If I'm the betting man, then I am, and you're rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles, this is the redemption year for Jalen Hurts. This is the year we get the bad taste out of our mouths from last season. If I'm going all in, ride or die with a Super Bowl and bringing that Lombardi trophy back to Philadelphia for a second time, you need to go to BetUS, and I'm not wasting any time with it. I'm putting $500 down as the risk and getting $7,000 back at the end of the year, because this offense is going to be explosive. This defense by Vic Fangio, it's going to be dynamic. A 150% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. Click the link in the description below. Start betting and start winning. All right, the first thing I want to talk about, guys, is obviously we're talking about two players that really didn't really show out, but mentality, competitiveness, and things caught on mic'd up when it came to Mike Evans during that Tampa Bay Bucks game. And I got to say, I think, this team is going downhill, and it's not just because of a coaching, quarterback, whether it's front office, whatever problems we have right now. And when it comes to Howie Roseman, this trade deadline, I think moves should be made here, and giving these, whether they're rookies, second-year players, you're getting a lot more ammunition back for this defense when it comes to Sidney Brown coming back. Going to be practicing, after this weekend, getting Cooper DeJean back, and hopefully will be starting at that inside corner role. I think Jalix Hunt needs more opportunity from the 2 plays he had in that Tampa Bay Bucks game. He was very explosive, and I feel like, Nolan Smith or somebody else really needs to lower some of their snaps in the rotation, give these other guys more of an opportunity here. And I think one thing is, obviously, with big play Slay, I don't even need to explain the whole situation, because I've made already 2-3 videos on this and already had a couple live streams on the situation already. And honestly, I really think this guy should have been with the Baltimore Ravens last year. We should have at least tried to give someone else an opportunity here. And I feel like Keely Ringo should get an opportunity. If Slay is going to retire after this year, okay, if he's going to retire, if he's going to get traded, it's going to be one or the other. It just feels like in Slay's eyes right now that he is going to retire, and this is a farewell year. Maybe he doesn't think he could play the hardest he could play. Maybe he thinks he doesn't have to concentrate or be as competitive as ever this year with the Eagles. Some guys just have those mindsets when they're going to their last year, or maybe they're going to leave this team after this year. Maybe it matters if they lose another, 2 to 4 games down the road after the bye week, where you have the Giants, you have the Bengals, you have the Jags, you have the Browns. I mean, you have 4 games coming up that should be not the most competitive games, but the Eagles will make it that way, because, we have to have a heart attack on game day every single week with a lot of mistakes. And we know what's going on with the play calling and the quarterback, and obviously this really bad game from this defense. If you are going to move on from Slay after this year, I'm frankly saying if you lose another 2-3 games, I think they should try to pull the trigger, get a trade done with Slay, and let Keely Ringo walk in as the number 2, because Quinyon Mitchell, in my opinion, has been the most consistent player every single week. And guys, like, thank you to the football gods that Quinyon Mitchell was an actual good pick. We haven't seen enough games from him. There's just more down the line, but not saying that they should pull the trigger on it now, but I'm sorry, but I'm very turned off by some of the personalities and some of the attitudes when you're getting your ass kicked in the game. Not even the defense playing relatively well, scoring points, close game, and players are jawing back and forth, maybe joking around. But man, when you're getting your ass whooped and you look at the situation and you're seeing how these players are, just their personalities, and just seeing how their, competitiveness should always come first before anything. And there is lack of that. I think part of it is Vic Fangio maybe being in the booth too much. Maybe he should be on the field to reprimand these guys. These guys aren't reprimanded enough on their attitudes. And, you get into these little casual conversations while all this is going on, and it's really just a big turnoff for me when it comes to these players and what they do. Maddox, on the other hand, I don't think should be moved, but he should be a backup as a hybrid inside corner / safety. Bradbury will be back, so we'll see what happens. So, when Bradbury comes back, he'll probably be the backup safety at this point, but Sidney Brown's coming back. We'll see what goes on with that. And Maddox, unfortunately, there's not really good depth on the inside corner. Okay, Isaiah Rodgers can't play on the inside. Ringo can't play on the inside. Eli Ricks can't play on the inside. The Eagles are lacking at that inside corner position. And what we're really hoping is that DeJean is caught up. And I'm telling you right now, if DeJean does not start after the bye week, okay, he's had plenty of time. If he does not start after the bye week at that inside corner spot over Maddox, then Fangio is really playing favorites. And then we're going to be back to square one. And this is just going to be one of the worst decisions they make. Your first, second round picks have got to play. This has been the dream with Cooper DeJean, whether he was going to play safety or he was going to play somewhere else or be that move around piece, which I really want him to be, that Swiss Army knife, Malcolm Jenkins type piece. He will be hopefully the starter by week 6. Hopefully. But in my opinion, guys, if you're not going to show it for this team, with a really soft, play style from this defense, you're going to play soft, and you're going to, and this really just put a bad taste in my mouth when it came down to it. I'd rather trade Slay over Maddox, but if I had the opportunity to get Slay out of the building and the Eagles are losing a couple more games down the road, I think honestly you should get him out of here and put somebody that's going to bring more intensity and actually try and not congratulate the player and look happy 24/7 after a game, and at least show the fans that you actually give a shit. And, you're kind of a little pissed off. This is from a guy that when he does well, he throws his team under the bus. And when he does horribly, he starts blocking people on X and being the diva that he is. And I don't want that here. I don't want that in Philadelphia. This thing has to turn over before it's too late. And, I think someone else should be starting at that number 2 spot and put Quinyon Mitchell as that number 1 spot. Let him take the best of the best, and let's get this thing over and done with. So that's what I think regarding the situation with Slay, with Maddox, where that whole thing is going. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, this is other stuff I kind of want to clear up because I don't know why fans keep bringing this up nonstop. Now, there was some news with the Las Vegas Raiders that the Eagles could be signing a Pro Bowler due to key injury concerns, okay? Now, we know that Hunter Renfrow has been available and why he hasn't been signed yet. And I think, honestly, guys, this offense is so pathetic, whether it's analytics, the front office allowing Nick Sirianni to do all this and be collaborative with Kellen Moore and taking over this offense the way it's been going. Shame on them the most and the analytics, because it is a friggin' disaster. And if really Nick Sirianni has all the power, then damn, this guy needs to get out of the building as fast as possible. I'm already on the bus right now of Nick Sirianni getting fired. I'm just counting my weeks until that happens. I'm not wishing the team loses for him to look bad. If Nick is here and we're successful, but he just has to stay out of what we're doing. And Kellen Moore needs more control. I think we all know this. But adding a wide receiver 3 that's, better than what we have, honestly, I don't think at this point, guys, like if they can't get Jahan Dotson involved, Johnny Wilson, or Paris Campbell enough. I understand you didn't have a right tackle for this last game. I understand you didn't have 2 of your top wide receivers, but guys, it is not that hard to at least see somewhat of getting these guys some drawn up creativity in some of these plays. Something in open field, something there. It's just so off to me that Jalen Hurts is only comfortable with every tight end that we have and just really A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and without them, it just looked crazy, on top of having no run game. And the whole story, throwing over 30 times at your 2 top receivers, then they really have problems if they can't get the ball to any of these other guys, especially Jahan Dotson, which I'm telling you right now, every time a player leaves Philadelphia and goes somewhere else, they always are successful. But let me tell you, if Jahan Dotson was somewhere else, trust me, he'd probably be a number 2 to a number 3 somewhere else and actually getting yards. Olamide Zaccheaus with the Commanders has 112 yards for the season already. The whole entire wide receiver group for the Eagles in that Tampa Bay game had 30-something yards. That's just disgusting, dude. You can't even draw up anything. But yeah, let's throw the ball 70 yards downfield. Let's just treat Jalen Hurts like he's a gunslinger, an elite quarterback that could do everything on his own. And trust me, Jalen Hurts is not off the hook with anything. I'm not saying that, but they treat him, they don't cater to what he's good at and throwing the ball downfield a bunch of times, not running the ball with your prime $12 million back on top of everything else, not getting these other receivers involved. At least when Covey was available, Covey was getting opportunities. Now with Covey gone and your 2 top wide receivers gone, it just got really worse. You weren't even throwing to literally Jahan Dotson the last 6 weeks. So adding another wide receiver 3 as an upgrade means absolutely nothing. I think Dallas Goedert had like 7 catches, and that was really the most. Nothing middle of the field. Route combinations are taking way too long with Jalen Hurts in the pocket, and this is why he was strip sacked. And this is why Jalen Hurts made some bad decisions because of a lot of things. So Jalen Hurts isn't looking great. This head coach is looking worse by the week. And wide receiver 3 is the least of our worries right now when it comes to Hunter Renfrow. On top of everything else, with the news of the Raiders, because Max Crosby put out a tweet like a few days ago he said, everything negative, pressure, challenge is all an opportunity for us to rise. And there's an eagle emoji, and everybody started speculating that Max Crosby is going to be a Philadelphia Eagle or a trade is going to happen. Or, oh yeah, would it help the defensive line tremendously? 100%. That means we don't have to run many five-man fronts with Nakobe Dean being your only linebacker back there. That's the worst because he can't cover and looks like he can't even tackle at this point. But he came from, I forgot what school he went to, but I know the school that he went to had a Eagle as his college. I forgot, it was East Michigan, I think it is. I could be wrong. I know their logo is an eagle, so all these Eagle fans just started to get like all crazy over this. Maybe people started joking about it, but this would never happen. Max Crosby to the Raiders is like Jason Kelce to the Philadelphia Eagles. It just would never, ever happen. But what I think is really realistic going forward during the trade deadline is Khalil Mack for the Philadelphia Eagles has been in a Vic Fangio scheme, whether he was an edge rusher or an outside linebacker. 17 sacks last year, only has, I think, 2.5 this year. And I think the Chargers really missed the mark too, because off a 17 sack season at 32 years old. I don't know how old he is. He's definitely over 30. Okay. I figured the most value you'd get out of him, well, after that 17 sack season, they should have traded him to get something for him. But now with 2.5 sacks, I know it's only 4 or 5 games in right now, so the statistics aren't great, but this is a guy that really respects Fangio, and, he was with Chicago when Fangio was there as a defensive coordinator, and I think this could be something that is a rental for the year, just a rental, nothing crazy. Eagles, trust me, do not lock yourself into any other defensive lineman, because we already have one at $17 million that can't do much of anything, but they can move him around a little bit, and he could, as a veteran, could help this team. But this should be a luxury trade. This shouldn't be, well, the Eagles need him right now because the defensive line isn't doing anything. If your corners are giving that much cushion like they did in that Tampa game, your defensive line is useless. And when your corners play up close and you get no pressure, your whole secondary is roasted. It's pretty much fried chicken done. Okay, it's finished. But this is definitely a move I could see them doing down the road. And, I have more faith in this defense than the offense just because I can really doubt that Fangio is going to let these guys play the way they did in that Tampa game. And if they do, then they are in serious, serious trouble. Where Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat are the only ones with sacks, barely any pressures, barely. No protection on the edge at all, containing the edge. I mean, just horrific. So everything is hand in hand when it comes to your pass rush and your coverage. You can't give up too much yardage, but you can't give your defensive line has got to be there too, and at least get some pressure on the quarterback. And Khalil Mack could be a very, how much is going to cost draft compensation wise? Probably not as much as we expect, but we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. I think it really depends on how many games the Eagles do lose going down. They feel like, man, we have to get this thing going, maybe acquire another player. The defensive line, like I said, I think you have to get another edge rusher. I just don't think they're going to survive with 5-man fronts, because then you lose Zach Bond out of the mix at linebacker. Nakobe Dean sits back there, where I think Trotter could at least get an opportunity. Trotter Jr. can get somewhat of an opportunity sooner or later. Nakobe Dean is the only linebacker by himself in the 5-man front. You can't do a 4-man front because obviously Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis get double teamed. Your edge rushers are so weak that offensive coaches don't care if they take the one-on-ones with their tackles. So, that's the way it goes. I think they should be moving guys around when they can. We'll see what happens, but getting somebody that can at least handle a one-on-one and get some pressure consistently would help. And getting an older player at the Eagles should really not get locked into anything in a younger player or trade and give away all these draft picks. I just don't think the Eagles are. I don't think this is the year for that. I really don't. I think get an older vet, bring him in, rent him for the year, let him play for another contract for another team, and just get this thing going. We're hoping that Fangio makes the adjustments. I think when the corners were playing so far off the ball, Fangio was talking at the press conference a day later saying, "Oh, they were playing too far off." It's like, okay, bro, why aren't you tightening these guys? You tighten those corners at the line way too late. 3 scores down the line, and you're finally going to tighten them up. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous. Coming from a 30-year-old veteran defensive coordinator is just horrible. That's where I'm at right now with the whole situation with Khalil Mack, and obviously some of the other players that Eagle fans have been kind of talking about as of right now. But the main thing is, do you guys agree that the Rooks need a shot and they have to start dealing at least somebody? Let's get a draft pick back. Let's get something for the draft next year. I don't care if it's a 7th-round pick for Slay, but I think if the Eagles lose a couple more games, they will start to actually say, yeah, you know what? We should start dealing a little bit. Let's be sellers at the trade deadline. And get somebody out the door. And you know what? If Slay is not here for the rest of his career, which he is going to be, unless he doesn't retire and go somewhere else, the Eagles will trade him. But I think you should pull the trigger on it, honestly. I don't think you should wait any longer, maybe another week, see what they do after the bye. And it just seems like it's not working out. Let Slay just go through his options and give another guy. Keely Ringo should get a shot here and let him get into these games, get himself acclimated. This way he doesn't get into the offseason program next year. He has to start all over again. If Ringo is part of your future as a number 2, put him there. Even if it's Isaiah Rodgers, okay? Isaiah Rodgers ain't playing. Ringo's not playing. Sidney Brown's not playing. Cooper DeJean's not playing. That's 4. Jalix Hunt. That's 5 players the Eagles don't have on the field right now that I think that'll give us some productivity. Sidney Brown might take a couple weeks because he's going to get into his full pads. He hasn't hit in a while. He hasn't played since last January. I don't care how many times he's running on the field looking great. He's got to get the physicality aspect and get his body back into football shape. And I think that's what he's been doing, but he's got to get the full pads on and keep continuing what he's doing. Let me know what you guys think about the situation at cornerback with Darius Slay. Would you trade him? Would you not trade him? And 5 players that aren't even playing this defense, especially Jalix Hunt, that isn't even the rotation, which is really sad. Really need to start playing a lot more of these guys, and Isaiah Rodgers. I think they need to start just playing guys and getting some of these weak-minded assholes out of this organization, and let's get this youth movement going. I don't want to wait any longer for it, and we'll see what and we'll see what happens. Other than that, guys, pretty much it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Eagles news every single day. Make sure you like the video. Helps out the channel tremendously. We will be doing the shakedown tonight, and we'll be live streaming the Washington Commanders game on Sunday at 1 o'clock. So definitely tune in for that as well. You guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes what up, follow slide. Peace out, guys. Peace.